All right. So this is a DTA 2. So DTA is training assembly, and it is a meeting that we generally do in the spring. Ravia will do one. Our next district governor will do one somewhere in April, and she will invite all of the officers from all of the clubs to come in and do training and to learn from the district experts who actually are much more functioning as district support. So our job is to support you in your efforts in your roles in the foundation. So that's what we're doing here. This is a second opportunity because we had a lot of people who joined the district team after that training happened. So I am going to go ahead and start, and we're going to talk about World Fund first because that is the foundation, the Rotary Foundation that we're talking about. And that's where, when you're asking me, Nikki and Artie, how you convince people to give to the Rotary Foundation rather than your club foundation or in addition to your club foundation, this is where we start in understanding the impact that the World Fund has, or the annual fund, and all of that. So a little bit of background. There is some global grants are really funded through the annual fund contribution and all of the giving that Rotarians give to the Rotary Foundation. And global grants are those grants that happen with more than one club involved. In fact, they have to be. The rules for global grants are that you have to have a local club, and then you have to have an international club as well that you can partner with, or a separate distinct entity to do the project. Global grants are generally at least $30,000, and so they're large scale grants. There's even larger, so there's also larger grants, but we're going to focus on global and how annual fund and global grants kind of work together to really impact our world and not just our local communities. Although you can do a global grant in the United States, you still just need an international partner to do it with you. There have been some policy changes that Pat sent for us to go over, and these were effective on July 2021, at least the beginning. So the district designated fund contributions to Polio Plus are being matched. So one of the signature projects that we do as Rotary and through our foundation is polio. So all of the intervention that we do with polio. Annual fund and Polio Plus are two separate funds. I know that I confused the two initially as well. We are going to, there was a decision to reduce the World Fund match from 100% to 80% for global grants. And I think a lot of that has to do with the increase in the number of global grants and the money being given and the amount of the annual fund contributions. So that, as you saw in that previous slide, those graphs were coming together pretty quickly. So there was some decision made at Rotary International for that. Decision 3 was that 5% of the current annual fund share contributions will be taken equally from the World Fund and the district designated funds to help fund operating expenses. And that started 1 July 2024. So that actually just started. And then the other decision that they made, changes to policy. Although now that I know all three of you are brand new grant chairs, I kind of wish we had flipped this presentation a little bit because this is what's different as opposed to what is. So we'll circle back a little bit on what is. If you don't use your district designated funds, which is what we spend to fund Polio Plus at the district level, and also for our district grants, which you may have already worked on or been a part of. Actually submitting your grant request, after 5 years, it's automatically reassigned back to the World Fund, which is good. All of that doesn't probably make a ton of sense when you're just starting out in the Rotary Foundation. So let's go backwards. So when you ask me, why should you give to the foundation as opposed to your local club foundation? It is because of the multiplier effect of the money that you give. So if you do send money to Polio Plus, the district designated funds, so 20%. The World Fund will match that with 10%. And then Gates matches that with $60,000. So when we send $20,000 from the district designated funds, essentially that actually becomes a $90,000 donation. And that to me, and this is just a polio example, this is not the only way that this multiplier effect happens, although the Gates Foundation is specifically for polio. But what that tells me, what that says is that a minimal contribution, although 20,000 isn't, but a smaller contribution multiplies to a much larger contribution when we use the Rotary Foundation and the multiplier effect of Rotary Foundation. Questions about that? Because I kind of want to pause there and just ask if there are any questions.
Yeah, I am like, surprised to hear, because my understanding was DDF is more from the district to the clubs. But this seems like DDF going to back to the Rotary Foundation. So the DDF goes either ways?
It does, and it is it's district designated funds. And Travis or Renee, I think we get 50% that we can give to the clubs. Is that correct?
That's right. We can build a district grant of up to half of our district designated funds. The other half of our DDF has to go to other projects like polio or global grants. But our district has typically chosen to take the 50%, put it in a district grant, and distribute those funds to the clubs.
Okay. So Artie, it's both. So it gives us an opportunity to fund the district grants and for clubs to perform projects within their community, but it also gives us an opportunity to give back to selected causes through global grants that are approved and by the district, proposed by the clubs and approved by the district. And then also we do a block grant to Polio Plus every year.
Great, thanks.
Good question. And this one is really just used to demonstrate the multiplier effect of donating to the foundation, the Rotary Foundation. So even though the match is not 100% anymore, you can also see that if we do a global grant, we approve a global grant of $20,000, the World Fund matches that with $16,000. That it essentially changes the $20,000 to $36,000. So again, smaller in, bigger out by going through the Rotary Foundation, contributing to the Rotary Foundation. If you did that as a club project through your club foundation, your $20,000 remains $20,000. Questions? Okay. Travis White, would you mind explaining this slide for me? I have heard you do it several times and it makes sense when you do it.
Okay. All right. There was a previous slide to sort of introduce that. What it says is we invest in the annual fund, and that money is held for 3 years, and it accrues interest, and the interest pays for the expenses of running the Rotary Foundation. And at the end of the 3 years, it is distributed. At one time, it was distributed at 100%. Now it is not. Now 5% of it is withheld as a contingency for unexpected expenses at the Rotary Foundation. They'll hold it for a while. If they don't expend it, they don't need it, then it will go into the World Fund. But what this shows you is at the end of 3 years, half of the money goes into, well, this explains the difference between the two systems. Before July 21, it was Yeah, it was split 50-50. And well, this slide shows actually the same thing before and after the current, after July 21, and this is current, they're the same thing. Before July 21, that 5% would not be there. It would be strictly 50-50. So that slide needs to be corrected. I don't think that the one that I use shows it that way. Uh,
That's good feedback.
but
Also,
that was your confusion. I understand.
perfect. Okay. So really ultimately, if you give $100, which is the every Rotarian every year sustaining member, so 25 for every Rotarian every year, and then $100 to be a sustaining member. When you give $100 in 3 years' time, $47.50 of that foundation donation comes back to the district. So that is truly the value of giving to the Rotary Foundation. And then we're able to utilize those funds, 50% of those in our district grants. So that's the value. And it truly is calculated 3 years ago. What we get for district grants this year is based on what we gave to the foundation as a district 3 years ago.
And that's club contributions and individual contributions that are credited to the district if when they put their donations in, they're logged in, etc. Or if their club foundation chair does that with general contributions that come in, right? Cheri, that's how it gets like figured out the amount, because it has to get credited by Rotarians either signing in or having their club put those donations in their name so that it's credited to their member number, their club ID, and then that automatically puts it in our district ID so that the World Fund, Rotary International, our district are all on the same page as to how much money was donated in our name and how much will be coming back. So it's a really, looks complicated, but the checks and balances that are in place are really great for helping us all keep track and making sure we're on the same page. I don't know how they did this before computers. Travis, how on earth were they able to keep track of this? I'm sure it took a lot longer to find out the final numbers of everything, donations, and then what the fund cut was going to be.
Grant approved was a paper process. It may take a year or longer just to do that.
Just to get a grant. Yeah, I'm happy about the automation of some of this, but
Yeah.
Let me ask a question about that previous slide.
Yeah.
Because it suggests that there may have been a change that I'm not familiar with. Because it's showing a current being different from that what happened in July of 21.
Yeah, I'm not 100% positive about the slide. I will be very honest that these slides were sent to me because Pat could not be here.
I think the current slide was
right?
before 2021, right? This was explaining the change that was
the one on the
happen.
right is after 2021. What is before 2021 is not shown because it was strictly a 50-50 distribution. This suggests that as of today, there may have been a change, but it has not been announced to my knowledge. That suggests that instead of splitting the 5% 50-50 to the World Fund and the DDF, that all of that goes to the district designated funds. So that raises an issue. If there's been a change, I'm not aware of it. But to my knowledge, the slide on the right is the current policy. But there may be a change. That's what I just
said too. If you asked me, Travis, I would say that what is the after July 21 is what we currently do. But I will seek some clarification on that.
Yeah, I'd like to.
Yeah,
I'd like to hear that.
I would have thought it the same as I would have thought the same as you, honestly. Yeah. So, all right. And this is again, I think that maybe we were thinking there were people who had been in the foundation for a long time that were coming to this presentation. So I'm going to kind of skip over this. All this just says that if you do not spend your district designated funds, we do a return to the annual fund so it can be reinvested. That's what happens if we don't spend it. So as good stewards of the foundation money that we receive, we want to try to expend all of our district grant money. We want to do as many global grants as we can support and fund. And we want to make sure that we've given our Polio Plus donations so that we fully utilize the funds that are sent to us as a result of the generous giving of the Rotarians in our district. So one of the big goals of the foundation team at the district is first to support the foundation chairs and to offer training to make sure that you know about the foundation. But the other thing is to make sure that we steward the money effectively and use it for maximum benefit for our communities and in our global grants. Otherwise, we do end up actually sending the money back to the annual fund. And then they reinvest that in activities that support the world anyway. So it's not like it's a loss, but it is something that we won't have the determination over. So if the DDF is unused after 5 years, it will go back to the World Fund, and there it'll go to areas of focus, disaster response, endowment funds, Polio Plus, Rotary Peace Centers, or right back into the World Fund. So I think, Travis, this is one of the changes, is that we can designate where that money goes back to. So
we get
that's
the option of designating it, yes.
Yeah.
But if we don't designate it, it goes to the World
It
Fund.
goes right back into the World Fund. All right, so taking it from the Rotary Foundation, how does the money come back? How do they invest it? The numbers to your club. So that's the second part of this. Before I move on to the club, any questions that we can try to answer for you about the Rotary Foundation monetary practices?
Would we be able to get a
And
copy of this slide deck?
You can, yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. After I address whether or not that slide is correct, yes.
I am researching it at the moment. I'm pulling down the
Thank
most recent information from the Rotary Foundation. So I will, whatever I find, I'll let you guys know.
Awesome. Thank you, Renee.
No problem. Because that threw me as well.
Me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody's like,
Yeah, like,
wait a minute.
But, I mean, it would be a positive change if the $5 goes to DDF as opposed to back in split. That would be actually a very good change for our district if that's what it turns out to be.
It
So-
would be, yes.
Yeah. So fingers crossed that that slide is correct. And there is a change that just none of the three of us were actually aware of. All right, so let's move to now what your club committee and what you can do, because one of the questions, Apollo, before you came on that was asked is how can we encourage Rotarians to give to the Rotary Foundation? I would say one of the best ways to do that is to, one, talk about the multiplier effect of the money, but two is to establish an effective Rotary Foundation position, so you, but also support within the club for that position. And so when you talk about a club committee, this is where what Travis was telling us starts to get a little bit confusing, because if you have a separate foundation for your club, you do have to have a committee that specifically manages that foundation and its finances separate from the operational accounts in your club. And it is not the same thing as being the club foundation chair. Now, that it can be a dual role, you can certainly manage the club foundation committee, but that is not a primary inherent function of the club foundation chair. So as the club foundation chair, your role is to encourage students. I am sorry, still in my conference in Virginia Beach for deans and directors. Your role is to encourage Rotarians to give to the Rotary Foundation, not students, although they could be too. But so the Rotary Foundation Chair Committee inspires the club members to participate in its activities and also to give to the foundation. A suggested club kind of layout board of directors includes the Rotary Foundation Chair as one of the 5 essential positions. So you all that are your club foundation chair are serving in one of the 5 mandatory officers that have to be in the club, in addition to the secretary, treasurer, and the president. So very important position that you are in. And I would tell you that my experience with my Rotary Foundation Chair, PDG Sandy Duckworth, is that she reminds us every meeting of the value of the foundation in one way or another. One strategy that I have seen used is the Rotary Foundation Chair does a foundation minute at every meeting and talks about the impact of a global grant or the impact of the worldwide foundation in either the local community or in the global community. Because I think, and I'm going to let Renee talk about this a little bit, but how you sell the foundation probably isn't the numbers that I'm telling you right now, the 50-50 match and Bill Gates and the good we do. The how you sell the foundation is the stories of the foundation. And Renee, that's one of your areas of expertise.
Yes, thank you. I did forward both you and Travis the most recent thing I could find, and it's the second graphic that says as of July 2021, because this specific thing that I sent you spells out donations from the 2022-2023 Rotary year will be those numbers will be used for the 25-26 grant program, and so that lines up. And so that documentation that I just sent you is the most updated, and so I sent you a screenshot and I sent you the link. So I think that possibly the thing that said current may have been from before, and this was a transition slide showing how it had changed, even though it looks like the current one wasn't exactly what we had set up before. So I'm not sure where that came from, but I thank you all for your patience as I researched that. So I would have to say, Cheri, you're 100% right. You want me to say that again? We'll record that. We'll make it a GIF. We'll send it to everyone in the district. Cheri, you're 100% right. So storytelling is how you're going to get people to reach into their wallets or into their purses to contribute to the Rotary Foundation. Because when you are in your community and you are absorbing all the needs that you see in your local community, you can get very blinded. What are those, the blinders that they put on the horses so they don't see anything that kind of excites them in the other direction? Folks get very focused on their local community, which is why most people joined Rotary. I joined Rotary to help with a local event that was celebrating our Founders Day, because I was good at events, and someone said, you should help the Rotary Club. They have a big parade they're planning. And I was like, a parade? Yeah. So that's what, that was the hook that got me into Rotary. I was very interested in my local community. And much like Cheri, I was completely confused about the difference between the Rotary Foundation and my club foundation, because they both have the name Rotary in it. Let's be honest. We call both of them the Rotary Foundation. It's just the Club Rotary Foundation or the Rotary Foundation. So I guess if you talk to people that went to the Ohio State, they would be able to tell you what the difference is and why there's a "the" on the front. Much like that, that's why there's a "the" on the front of the Rotary Foundation, because your local club foundation can do so much, but the Rotary Foundation can do so much more. So the idea of making people understand that donation that goes to Rotary International does still affect your district locally. You can still impact in local ways through that. So that's the first thing that you kind of need to explain. And again, like Travis said, there's a competition, but I feel like if we were able to impress upon our members exactly what it is that each of them does, we would find that we're not really in competition with each other. But the difficulty is trying to explain the difference and make people understand. Their dollar can go so much further with the Rotary Foundation as far as kind of stretching that buck, adding it to other dollars that are coming in from other places, adding it to partner dollars, adding it to big program things. That money can just absolutely make a difference globally and still be able to affect your local community. So first of all, explaining that difference is crucial. Second, it's the stories, because the reason people are so passionate about their local community is because they know the stories. They've seen them. They've watched things being acted out. They've been in their children's school and watched kids get a cheese sandwich because they don't have enough money on their account for a school lunch. They've watched people picking up food at a food pantry. They know, or they see, that there's a need in their community and how vital it is to fill that need. If you could show them something similar in a global project that another Rotary Club has done, that your club has done in the past, a current project that you're working on or interested in getting into, if you can light that fire behind that story and let them know the difference that was made. I didn't really understand until I was learning how to be president of my club, and they really kind of just laid everything out in plain speak more than I've ever seen it before at CPETS. And immediately, and for those of you that are new to Rotary, CPETS is Chesapeake President-Elect Training Seminar. It's a lot of words, a little acronym. Basically, every president in Rotary that's going to be in leadership position of their club has to go through a president-elect training. Our district happens to join with 3 other districts in the Chesapeake area, and we put on the Chesapeake Pets. So we have knowledge and everything in the room in quadruples. We're able to, show our incoming presidents a bigger global picture because we have more districts involved. So that was my first eye opener, was that the global grants, first of all, existed and the difference that they made. So immediately I went home and started to research online on the Rotary. It was something called Rotary Showcase, and now it's a Rotary Service Project website that they've totally revamped, and it's awesome. But at the time it was called Rotary Showcase, and I just started pouring through videos to see, or information to see how our club could maybe get involved and what that would look like. And the videos I saw, the pleas for help, the ideas that these clubs had come up with for how to support various things around the globe and who they were asking for help, that was something that I could not have experienced except I went and looked for it. So if you could bring that sense of information, that storytelling to make that international need seem more personalized, to show them that these are humans living in other parts of our world who don't have access to things that we take for granted on a daily basis, like clean water and sanitation and being able to flush a toilet and everything goes away. I know that sounds gross, but honestly, there are places in the world where that doesn't exist and we take it for granted. If we are able to help another human being on the opposite side of the world to be able to do something that we do every single day that we take for granted, that showing that kind of power of impact can really turn people's minds. But like Cheri mentioned, getting people to understand that and go to Rotary Direct to sign up to donate $10 a month automatically without having to think about it will make a very huge difference globally, and will make it so that your club gets to participate in something bigger than even our community. It's a global project. So I'll stop talking, but the storytelling, the information, pictures, project results, people coming on a video or writing a testimony about how their life was literally changed by something Rotary did. I've met so many people who are from other places who come to the US to work with Rotary because it affected them personally when they were growing up in their own country. And they felt like I want to do something now that I'm benefited. What can I do? I'm going to join Rotary. It's beautiful. If you could find one of those people, a global scholarship recipient, or someone from a place that was affected by a global grant, and have them explain. I mean, the idea that we can Zoom anybody into a meeting is, I mean, we can make so much impact around the world by showing people what they can do. So I'll digress and let you take back over. Never give the IPDG a microphone.
Never get any PJG a
That's
microphone.
right. That's right. But I do have a mute button, so had it gone on much longer, I could have muted you.
Oh, technological issues. Sorry, Renee.
Do that. Would never do that. All right. So as a foundation chair, your president should reach out to you. Now, this process for this year should have been done because the goals were due into my Rotary system on the 1st of September. So this should be done already, but as your foundation chair, you would work with your president-elect. That will happen in January, February timeframe. They will be asked to develop their goals for next year. And you think about the things on this screen, which I will send to you as well, to how you are going to actually impact and develop your goal. And what Pat always told me is start with what your club has done for the past 3 years, and then set a target that exceeds that. A reasonable target, because you certainly do not want to set a target that there's no way that your club is going to reach. But one of the things that she's very, very adamant about is if you don't set the target, you have nothing to reach. And if you just keep your giving level, then you also aren't reaching forward to get more and give more and have more impact in your community, which is one of the reasons that I joined Rotary, was to expand my impact in the community, to be able to network with community leaders. And that's why I joined, but I stay because of the global impact that we can have and the people that we have impacted. One of the speakers that we just brought to our club was a global scholar who is here, may not be here anymore, but he was here, and he was doing an internship in DC, and it was amazing to see this wonderful man and how Rotary had impacted him, his career, his village, his country. Like the impact was just exponential. So you'll start with what you want to give to the annual fund, the Polio Plus Club, and endowments. And endowments is something that we could spend 3 or 4 hours talking about, and it's a different topic. And you will get an endowment legacy contribution visit to your club sometime in the very near future to talk about that more specifically. But that's really about the legacy that you're leaving behind. And what you are going to give on a long-term basis is more what the endowment is. The annual fund and the Polio Plus memberships and givings are things that we do on every month, every quarter, every year annual basis. One thing that you can do, and I would suggest, and something that I have done at every club that I have visited, is talk about Rotary Direct. And I think that that's something that Renee just hit on as well. For me, I use Rotary Direct because then I don't forget to write a check. I don't forget to give my club foundation chair my donation for that month. It just automatically comes out, and I've set the goal to be a major donor within the next 3 years. So then I just divided my contribution, the 5,000 I have remaining to become a major donor by 3, and set my monthly payments according to that. But that's what the individual conversations as the foundation chair, those are individual conversations that you want to have with your Rotarians. First, collectively, the why, and then work with them to plan the how, and then you roll that up into your total club foundation goals. My thought this year is to work with Sandy to actually do this with all of our club members. So that's something that we're going to try this year at the Stafford Club, and that is just to see if we can be more specific and deliberate, and if that increases the propensity to give. But some of the things that are on here, so Rotary Direct is obviously the automatic giving. Paul Harris's Society is those members of your club who have said that they're going to contribute at least $1,000 per year. So that's how you become a member of the Paul Harris Society. Sandy would tell us that's a coffee a month. She must drink very expensive coffees because it's not quite a coffee a month, but you know, but you can get there very, very easily by giving about, I think it's about $86 a month if I actually know the calculation.
89. I think it might be 89.
Thank
But
you.
you're right. It's somewhere in the 80s.
So
It's
somewhere in
easier to
there.
round at 100.
Right.
Yeah, just round it up.
If you just hit 100, you're going to be golden. Polio Plus Society is $100 commitment per year. Something kind of unique in our district. We're not the only district that does it, but it is a district managed foundation. Manassas Club just became 100% Polio Plus Society members, and that was pretty cool. So it's $100 per year. Those two together go in for your Paul Harris points. So annual fund plus Polio Plus can all works together to get you to the $1,000 per year. So that's pretty cool. And I split mine between the two, not evenly, but I do split. I give some to polio and some to annual fund. The legacy event is what we'll come and talk to you about at your club later on, and that's the $1 Million Dinner. E-Ray is every Rotarian every year, and that means a $25 donation to the foundation from every Rotarian in your club. And that is something that you can use different strategies to get to. We do Happy Bucks in our club, so you can, or North Stafford does Happy Bucks. So you buy the Happy Bucks for the Happy Cup, and then that money is given to the foundation. If you buy 25 of them a year, you have met the obligation of every Rotarian every year. Sustaining members I think it's $100, but we're as a district, we are going to do the first steps of giving, and we're going to shoot for 120 per member per year. And Renee will talk about that at the end. You talk about your major donors, your bequest society, major gifts, benefactors. Those topics will come directly to your club, but those are advanced levels of giving. As a new Rotary Foundation, Cheri, you want to check in with your club and see where everybody's at to understand how you can encourage more giving. Any questions about this slide?
Where could they find that information, Cheri? Maybe this is a
I'm
good time to tell
so
them.
glad you asked, Renee. It's almost as if you were reading my mind. I have a slide on that. So,
Cool.
yeah.
Awesome. I think that's the big thing, is where to pull the reports, how to put the information in, how to log in and put those goals in, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We cover at the end.
Yeah, so the next thing is your planning resources. So this is exactly what Renee was just asking about. So to start your planning, the question is asked is, what has your club done in the past, and then how can you exceed that? So on the right of the slide are the different reports that you can pull as your foundation chair. And one of the ones that is very quick to look at and therefore highlighted is the club fundraising analysis. That at least gets you that starting point of where you're at. Then, as if Renee knew what my next slide was, the next slide is how do you actually access this? And do all three of you have a My Rotary account set up?
No, not to my knowledge.
Okay.
I would have to ask for that.
Okay.
You
Yes,
can do
I
that
had some
yourself.
difficulty, but mine is set up.
Awesome.
Okay. All right. You're going to get this slide. So I'm going to pull this down and I'm going to actually sign into my Rotary so you can see everybody. While I'm doing that, keep your fingers crossed that there aren't too many people trying to get into my Rotary at the same time, and it's all going to work out.
Yeah, on weekends, it's tough sometimes.
It is sometimes tough.
Because everybody goes, ooh, it's the weekend. Let me go do all my Rotary work.
Yeah. So To set up a My Rotary account, you do set it up yourself. I will say that the best thing that anybody ever told me was to make sure that my DAC and my Rotary account use the same login information. That was a pro tip.
I like that pro tip. Oh, maybe we should make a little sheet called pro tips.
That was a pro tip. So to do this, you just go to myrotary.org and then log in.
But that's where you would go to register if you didn't have an account too.
Yeah, if you don't have one, you can create one. So believe it or not, I actually have one, but there's two buttons, sign in up on the right-hand side or register. And so you would, Apollo, need to register first.
Okay.
I don't know why this is sitting here. There we go. Yay, we are in. All right, so this is the place to start. And when you get your account set up, you will see that it'll give you some helpful tiles. And so I generally start in the helpful tiles because they're there for a reason, because that gets you to most of the places that you need to go in order to access resources. So Rotary Club Central is actually where you or your president, and I believe the president-elect will actually enter these goals that you're going to help establish. But most people can see, but not everybody can enter. So that's the difference between the roles. So because these are security driven, but your president-elect is going to be really working hard to get all these in somewhere around March, April timeframe. And the meeting that Renee was talking about actually happens in early March, so that your president-elects are ready when July 1 rolls around. Another area that you may, as district or as your club foundation chair, you might by default be in charge of your district grant or your club grant. So there's a grant center here where you can look at grant information. But in terms of this one, what we're going to look at is the membership and foundation reports. Because you're new members, I will say there are two other areas that are really, really important here. One is the brand center. So anytime you want to put out something for Rotary, go to the brand center and download the appropriate logos, the resources. You can do a memo, you can do a flyer, you can do a brochure for your foundation activities. There's a lot there. And if you go to the brand center and not something that you've saved on your computer, you will always have the most updated logos and materials because they keep it relatively fresh. And if they make changes, they update it all there. It's really important to Renee, so I just wanted to hit on that. She's kind of the brand police for us. So make sure that you go to the brand center when you want to do that kind of stuff. And then the Learning Center, there are courses for the foundation chair in the Learning Center, and I would recommend that you do those. Because on top of these helpful briefings, or at least we hope they're helpful, there are actual courses that you can take in the Learning Center that will talk about your role as the club foundation chair. And then one thing I did is when I was being asked to take on a new role is I went in and did the course to kind of get a sense of what that meant. So that I would understand the commitment I was making to do the role. And I could come in with a fresh set of eyes because we have a propensity in Rotary sometimes to be because that's the way we've always done it kind of organization. And there's been a lot of changes. So you can honor the past, but also look at training for what's expected. And so Learning Center, really important. But I'm going to click into the membership and the foundation reports because that's the critical part of what we're doing today. All right. So for yourself, you can view your own report. So you will have access to of course, your history, what you've done. You also can utilize this to actually set up your Rotary direct donation. So right in this area, you can click in and give online, and you can make that a recurring donation. I would suggest doing that if you haven't, because that will help you to guide your club members who want to do it once you've already done it yourself. So it'll make it easier. There's also a form where you can mail a contribution. As a club foundation chair, it's very possible that some of your members will give you a check. And you can use the forms in here to actually mail that to the Rotary Foundation. If you were to happen to get a paper check from a foundation, from a club member. And the truth is that in my mind, it does not matter how a club member wants to pay money to the foundation. I will take it in any format and I will pass it on to the Rotary Foundation. Would I love everybody to be Rotary Direct? I sure would, because that makes it easier to make sure everything gets accounted correctly. But whatever way a club member wants to bring in money, I will take it. So looking at club reports, you can look at the status of club members, and you can, if depending on your actual access and the positions you have. So I have a few more things that you probably would not be able to see just because I work on the district foundation team. But what you want to go down to is this contributions and recognition. And you are going to look at club giving. So this will connect you directly to your club. Click on the view reports. And then you can have a cup of coffee while you wait for that to quit spinning.
Maybe you could take a quick shower. You could walk the
Some days.
dog.
You could.
So you can get so much extra work done. Rotary's helping you to manage your time.
Yeah. All right. But this is where you can look at the different reports. I'm not going to pull this report right now because this is specific to my club. And one thing that we do at Rotary is we protect individual member donor information because that's something that's private for them. So if I were to pull it up, you would get to see, Renee happens to be in my club, so you could see Renee's donation, but you could also see people who may not want you to know their donations. So be very careful with this information, protect it. It is private information for your club member. But I will show you the monthly contribution report for the district because yours is going to look relatively similar. It will just be at the club level as opposed to having all the district clubs on it. But that list of reports is everything you need to see what your club has done in the past. And I think more importantly, to make your conversation individual to your club member, because you can see where they're at. If they've never given before, you might want to start with every Rotarian every year as your goal for them, or the foundations of giving, which I'm going to give Renee a few minutes to talk about at the end of this. Because that's where you start. You don't start with a, boy, would really, I mean, you could, I don't know if it'd be successful, but you could start with we're having $1 million dinner and all we need is a $10,000 commitment from you. But that might not be the best approach for a new member who's just starting Rotary. You might want to build the value first. All right, so let's look at 24-25. That's the current Rotary year. And then you click on the month and we will go through the month of September and then just click OK. I had to just play around with these truthfully just to kind of learn them and figure out what had value and what made sense to me. And I'm still learning all of that. So I play around with the reports a lot. But this will tell you how many Rotarians you started July 1 with. Not what's current. This is what you started July 1 with because that's where your Rotary goals are based on. How big of a goal that the club has made. So Alexandria has a goal of 5,000 this year. It will tell you where your club is at in its progress towards that goal. So they're already at 37%. That's a pretty strong place to be at the end of the first quarter. So that's positive. and then a per capita amount. Per capita matters just in that we want, they give out rankings for per capita and all that. So if you want to be celebrated at the Rotary Foundation, you want your per capita number to be significant. It also could in the future play into the ability to qualify for district and global grants. So that's something that that's being talked about. It's not there yet, but you do want to pay attention to these numbers and know kind of where you're at. And then you'll get where your club is actually at any given point in time for the annual fund, Polio Plus, other funds, and then endowments that you have in your club. But these reports actually are where you're going to start to pull the information for your club and to build your goals and to know who you're talking to when you're ready to talk to your club about the value of giving. And I think with that, my last slide just said questions, so I'm not going to pull it back up to ask questions. Tell you that you can ask questions, but I wanted to give you an opportunity to ask them. And then Renee, if you'll close us out. Travis, if you have anything to say that you'd like to add, I'd love to hear it. And then Renee, if you'll close us with your Foundations of Giving thoughts this year. But first, questions.
Personally, I don't have any. I'm still digesting it, absorbing and digesting what you said. But I'm glad that you showed the report, my Rotary account. I think there's a lot of information that certainly would help me out and give me a better understanding in all of these things. So I'm glad to be learning.
Awesome.
No questions, just a thank you. That was helpful.
I have a question. I have a question. I wanted to know, like, when a club applies for the global grant, and then what is the amount that the club has to generate itself? Earlier, it used to be like a matching amount or something, but what is the requirement nowadays?
I'm going to turn that question over to Travis.
Well, there really is no requirement. What you will do when you want to do a global grant is talk to our grants manager, Andrew Wade, about how you want to fund it. He can tell you what we would expect you to contribute to it. He may ask you to put money into the annual fund rather than contributing to the grant, because that way we get half of that back in 3 years. But you work out the financial plan with him. There is no fixed amount that you need to contribute. The club money doesn't generate the matching funds that the district money does. So we try to maximize the use of the district money in support of your grant. But talk to Andrew first and tell him you need to work out a funding plan.
Okay.
On November 2nd, the first of the training sessions is about global grants specifically. So they will address kind of that issue for you, and you'll get to meet Andrew, who would help you build your funding plan. Sorry, I think I cut you off and I did not mean to.
No, I got it, because one of the things that when in India, particularly when you are abroad perhaps, so that is one big challenge, because the minimum grant starts at $30,000, and then you are supposed to generate 50%, that is $15,000 you have to generate from the club. So that's why I'm coming from that side, like it's a little different over here, but then for countries like India, generating 15,000 first and then applying for a 30,000 grant. So that was a big challenge.
Well, that's what we use the other part of that district designated fund for, because it generates more matching money from the foundation. So we don't ask the clubs to do it up front. We do it as a partnership with the clubs.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Apollo, I'd encourage you to go ahead and register for your account while it's still fresh in your mind, because there's so much value there to help you with your job.
Right. Like I said, I'm trying to piece this together, because when Cheri showed the goals that the club has to do, and I was like, okay, where am I going to get all the information? How is this going to be broken out and, what goes into each block. So, but my Rotary account would help.
Absolutely. And then when you're ready to sit down and kind of look at it, I'm happy to meet with you too and just go
Okay.
through that. You also have an AFA, and off the top of my head, I'm not sure who your area foundation advisor is, but I'll send that to you. But that person also is there available as a resource for you to help you fill those things out. 3 years ago, I would not have been able to just fill that out myself. So it is something that you'll build the skills,
Good.
and we have resources to help you.
Good.
All right, Renee, I'm gonna let you take it away, but I do remember I have a mute button.
I I am very well aware. Thank you, Cheri. And this year, I committed to staying involved in district events as the IPDG. I wanted to remain involved, and one of the best ways I found I could do that was to be on the foundation committee. And the annual fund position happened to be open because Cheri had slided over to do some other work. And so I just kind of filled right in, and I'm still learning because I think that for the rest of my days, I will be learning about Rotary. There's so much information. But the Rotary Foundation taps into a global network of Rotarians who invest their time and money and their expertise. So the thing that I think is beautiful about the Rotary Foundation that separates it from other charitable organizations is that they don't just ask for the money. They want sweat equity. They want members to donate the money and then follow the money where it goes and participate in the projects. Anything that's put on financially should have volunteer hours associated with it and community interaction. That's why a community assessment is required. What does your community really need? They don't want you doing projects because you need to do a project. They want you to do a project because the community needs whatever it is that you're willing to do for them. So I think that that's an important thing when we're talking about the foundation of giving, is to talk about why. Why do we give? Rotary International is on Charity Navigator top scores, 4 stars, because 88 to 90% of the money that comes in goes straight back out in the form of impacting the community directly. And they use our 7 areas of focus to do that, like to figure out what it is that we need to do. They dip into the 7 areas of focus. And so if you know there's a particular part of your club that has a particular affinity for one of the 7 areas of focus, that is another way to encourage contributions. You can say, remember the work that we're doing all across the world, especially our polio fund, which touches on one of our areas of multiple areas of focus. But our foundation was created in 1917, and it was founded by Rotary International's 6th president, Arch Klump, which is why the Arch Klump Society, it's one of the contribution level giving recognitions, one of the highest, because it's named after a president that founded the foundation, because they wanted to really do good in the world and not just raise a little money, do a little something, raise a little money, do a little something. So it was an initial contribution of $26.50 from the Rotary Club of Kansas City. And now we've raised more than $1 billion. I want to say that, hold on, I got a fact right here that I had pulled up. Here it is. 10,000, it's talking about the bequest societies, but it's the 5 pillars. Shoot, I had a thread and I lost it. But okay, so we'll go back. Anyway, in addition to the Rotary Foundation, along with that came the Rotary Peace Fellow Program. Peace centers are all over the world. We have so many different funds now, disaster fund, endowment fund. You can donate after you're gone. You can donate while you're still here. You can promise to donate a certain amount. There are so many different ways to establish someone giving to encourage them. But what we're going to try to do is give you the knowledge that you need. And I'll come to your club. I'll do a presentation. What I'd like to do is start with the clubs that are ready to hear from me right now. The clubs that feel like they have a grasp on, you know, what giving is and are ready to kind of hear me come in and talk about why it's important to give the foundation, how it all works and that kind of stuff, and work with those clubs and individuals, and then refer the ones that have a little more to give to our legacy campaign. In return, the folks on the legacy campaign, as they go through and encourage giving, if they find that there's a donor that doesn't have $10,000 laying around, they're gonna refer them back to the annual fund to say, hey, this is someone willing to contribute. They've just got new information. They found out about the Rotary Foundation and they want to give, but they're not ready to write a $10,000 check. Would you like to talk to them? So we can talk to them together if that's what you prefer. But I'd like to come out to the clubs that are ready to hear me now. Go ahead and schedule those appointments, come do the presentation, explain it out. And then I'll start to visit those clubs that took a little longer to put in their goals, are kind of maybe having a little bit of trouble kind of getting it together. I don't want to walk in and ask for something that's going to make people uncomfortable. I don't want to walk in and feel like, hi, welcome to the new year. Can you give us money? I want to be purposeful. I want to speak to the people that, you know, need to hear it first. So if your club is a club that's ready to go, and you are ready to have me come in and tell a couple stories and then do a little bit of inspiration and kind of explain out, you know, Rotary Direct and how convenient it can be to give $10 a month, I'm ready to schedule those. If you think you need a little more time, you can put me on your calendar at a later date. Just let's work that out. But I think it's crucial to explain it in a way that isn't always graphs and pie charts. I know that a lot of people need to see that to understand it. And Cheri is one of those people. I need a heartfelt, you know, call to action. I need someone to tell me, this is why we need you, Renee. This is what we need. This is what it's going to do. So I'm going to try to deliver a little bit of both of that so that people kind of get the depth and breadth of it. And maybe I'm speaking to people that accept their knowledge in different ways so that I can reach a larger percentage of your members when I visit. So we'll also sit down and have a conversation before I come to visit. I'll look at all the history, and then I'll talk to the chair and maybe even the president if they want to contribute to the conversation and find out, what is your goal as a club? Are you trying to increase the donations club-wide? Do you want to increase the donation that comes from your club foundation? What is the goal? What is it that you're looking for? And then I will try to frame my talk around encouraging giving that fits the model of what the leadership of your club has decided they want to do. Or I'll try to talk you into something before I go in, and we'll say, okay, I love what you're doing. Could we amend it to add this? I think this is important, but we'll make that presentation happen together. So thank you for your time today. And thank you for opening your doors to me in the next 8 months so that we can together work on this and see what we can do to improve our donations. Honestly, when we give 3 years later, we're really happy that we did. We just have to remind everyone of that. Do you like that fat $3,500 district grant check? Then we have to continue encouraging our current members to give. So thank you for your time. I turn it back over to you, Cheri, without having to use the mute button.
And not, I am super impressed. All right. Thank you everyone for joining us. I don't hesitate to reach out with any questions, especially like I know when I hesitate, I can spend an hour, but when I call Travis, he can tell me in 2 minutes. So just think about that maybe we can help guide you quicker to where you want to go. And we all have a heart of service, and that's exactly what the district is here for, is to serve you and to help you, to help your members.
We are a resource. Please use us. The only reason I'm learning this information is so I can share with other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, Cheri, before we go, well, first, Renee, thanks for that information. We certainly, I could tell you, we certainly need help, membership and funds, to, execute our project. So I'm gonna get back to you on this one. But Cheri, would it be possible to include, the contact information of you guys? So if we needed to reach back, we'd be able to call and get that communication put in place.
100%. I will put it right in the presentation that I send you.
Yep.
I am going to fix that slide though, because I don't want to send out information incorrectly, because that's
Yeah.
not going to be helpful. So
And
it'll
this-
probably be a couple days.
And this video would also be somewhere that we could go back to, and if we need to.
Yep.
Yeah, and there'd be a place where we could see all the videos about foundations and stuff.
There is, and I'll put that
Okay.
on there too. And then my best suggestion for you is to go into the Learning Center and do the foundation chair training.
Yep.
Because that's gonna at least get you a foundation on the foundation.
Right.
That's gonna give you the starting point, and then we can help you with the nuance of it.
Excellent. Thank you also, Travis.
Thank you.
Thank you for all the wonderful information. I have to say that, Cheri, your login looked very neat and organized. Mine looked very cluttered. So I have to go back and log in and see how it looks now. But thanks for all the information.
Mhm.
Really appreciate it. Yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Have a good
All
day.
right. Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.